Lauren Ranier, who's a big-time NASCAR talent scout, has offered to help coach me.
My father was a pretty prominent car owner in the 80s, and both Bobby Allison, you know, Robbie's grandfather, and Davey Allison, Robbie's dad, both drove for my father. So obviously I go way back with the whole Allison family. We just started out really slow. We're just trying to teach him the very basics of racing. He has an iconic name, but he doesn't have really the experience to go with the name. So he's 22 years old, and we're basically teaching him the things that a 12 or 14-year-old kid would learn.
I qualified second by 30 minutes.
Dude, nice.
Thanks.
Nice. Who got the pole?
Enzo Fittipaldi.
Yeah, of course.
You have the genetics, obviously. You have a lineage that says you can do this. But when it comes down to it, Bobby Allison or Davey Allison is not going to drive the car. You're going to drive the car. So that means you have to learn all the stuff. You have to go through all the learning curve. All the stuff that they went through, you've got to go through. Just because who you are doesn't mean that you're going to excel until you go through the bumps and the bruises and the heartache of it and the pain of it, and and then it happens.
This is a process that takes years. There's going to be days he probably is going to question his decision, but you'll never know until you try.
Last year, Lauren started me in karts, and I've been moving up, and now I'm racing street stocks.
I think one of the greatest things about Lauren is, he never runs out of stories to tell me about my dad, and, stories from when he was younger and he was trying to make it.
It's real easy as a teenager to go goof off, and then he's in a position where he was Bobby Allison's son. That almost gave him a license to goof off, but he did just the opposite. He was engaged. He knew what was going on with the cars. He knew what it took for his dad to win races.
It is Allison by a car length.
And he had a lot of grit about him. He just had a lot of want to.
Lauren was the one who actually convinced his dad, Harry, to give my dad his first ride at the highest level of NASCAR.
And I said, I honestly believe Davey's the guy. This is the guy that we need to get and make a star out of him. Now, my dad didn't agree with that in the beginning. We had to kind of debate it, and then he bought into it. When he bought into it, he was 100% into it.
He didn't, go out and use his name to get ahead. He worked every inch to be there.
There it is, Davey Allison wins!
And he didn't just see it as being famous or making money. He wanted to win. You can't be the best if everything is handed to you. You have to figure it out on your own. If I can do one thing towards my career every day, I'm doing pretty good.
All right, that's a good starting point. Start fine-tuning it. Little things, telling little adjustments. It could be better here, better here, better here. Let him start.
One thing I think I can do better, I can't drive it in anymore down there without hitting the wall, but down here, I can drive it in just a little bit deeper and arc it a little more and come off low and straight.
Straighter, yeah.
I kill people coming off.
Right.
3 generations of the Ranier family have competed and won at the highest level.
They're coming to the finish line. At the line, it is Giuliano.
The first foray from the Kentucky family came in the post-World War II era, led by a man known as HB.
His name was H.B. Ranier. He was also Harry Ranier, but he went by H.B. Ranier. He got involved back in the early 50s. He was actually a Lincoln Mercury dealer, along with doing other things in construction and pipelining and things like that. But he got involved in the early 50s and with a pretty good young driver by the name of Johnny Patterson at the time, and he was from the Huntington, West Virginia area. And they were pretty successful on the short tracks, and then they made a couple of starts in the Southern 500. In 1952, they finished second to Vonnie Flock, and then in 1954 they finished fourth. And he ran a few races in the Cup level. It was a Grand National level at that time, and his main emphasis was in ARCA in the 60s. He had 2 factory-backed Dodge ARCA teams in the 60s with Bobby Watson and Andy Hampton, and they were very successful. They won nearly 30 races in ARCA at that time, and ARCA was at a pretty good level at that time. With you had the ARCA Series, the USAC Stock Car Series, and then obviously the NASCAR Grand National Series at that time, which is now Cup.
With NASCAR's emerging dominance over ARCA and USAC for stock car racing supremacy clearly established, HB's son, Harry Ranier, made the move in the late 70s to NASCAR in a big way.
We started in '79 with Baker, and we had a really good year that year. Started out and won the pole for Daytona, and won the inaugural Busch Clash, which is now the Bud Shootout. And we won the qualifying race, and then we had ignition problems in the race. And it's funny because that race ended up being an historic race because that was a race that Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough had the big spin and the fight and the whole thing on national television. So '79 was a good year. We won Michigan. I think we won Martinsville that year, and then in '80 we started out the year really strong and won the Daytona 500 1980 with Buddy Baker, and I think we won Talladega, the first Talladega race in 1980. So, and then in '81 Bobby drove for us, Bobby Allison, and we had a good year that year. Finished second in points, won 5 races, won the World 600 at Charlotte, and Talladega races. Just had a good year. Just missed the championship there to Darrell, and they had a really great rivalry that year in '81 because Darrell had just went over to Junior Johnson's, and really it was a great year that year, just a good year. And Bobby ended up leaving in '81, and we kind of had a transition year in '82. We had Benny Parsons for the first half of the year, and then Buddy Baker for the second half of the year. Didn't really fare all that well in '82, and then in '83 through '86 we had Cale Yarborough, and that really worked out good. Brought Hardee's on board. Major sponsor at that time, and won back-to-back 500s in '83 and '84, and had a lot of success with Cale, a lot of fun, great time right there. And then in '87 we hired Davey Allison, and that worked out really well. Things went great, and won Rookie of the Year in a couple races his first year, and then won a couple races actually in '88, and then Dad sold the team to Robert Yates at that time.